I have the very distinct pleasure of talking to you about one of the most exciting, yet one of the most taboo topics there is, sex. I don't know, for some of you, you may be like, yeah, sex. Some people even say, why are we even talking about this? This is such a trivial topic. Why talk about it? Why research it? It's just a physical act. Just like the animals. These are bonobos here. And really, we do look an awful lot like them when we have sex. Although most of us don't kind of have that third person standing over us watching.
Sex may be a natural act, but that doesn't mean it's a simple topic.
Talk about the complexity of sexuality, and what happens when we don't talk about it is that sexuality ends up in the shadows. And that's where we have shame and embarrassment and exploitation and abuse and fear. And we learn this. We're trained to think this way. Now, sure, there's absolutely physical and physiological components of sex that are universal, but so many components and experiences and beliefs around our sex and sexuality are learned in the culture that we are grown up in. And that changes from culture to culture.
What did we learn? And so where do we learn? Where did you learn what it is to be sexual, what it is to be a woman, what it is to be in a relationship? What type of places did you learn those things? Cosmo. Yes. Unfortunately, yes. Mass media. Absolutely. I mean, which is magazines, which is billboards, which is the internet, which is movies, television, all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah. Where else? Family. Yeah. I mean, that's our primary foundation. Whether our family talked about sex or didn't talk about sex, all of that speaks volumes, right? Sometimes the silence speaks volumes.
Sex is everywhere, whether we want it to be or not. It's all over the place. It's used for selling, and it's in magazines and movies, and so not addressing it doesn't make it go away. Mm-hmm. And it just means that your kids are left up to all of the conflicting messages that they're getting out there, and you're not having any say if their choices and their beliefs around it are actually matching up with the values that you want to instill in them.
Where I grew up, we never learned about the clitoris. I didn't know that existed, and I only come to find out later it's just the seat of pleasure for many women, and the sole part of human anatomy for pleasure. That would have been nice to know.
Oh, look where we are. We're in the bedroom too. Hey, Dr. Jenn is an intimacy counselor and a sociologist, and we've chatted many times before. We're going to joke about this and have some fun with this segment, but it's no laughing matter. If you're in a relationship, intimacy and actual sexual contact is an integral part of a healthy relationship, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it depends, because some folks need it a lot, some folks need it, less, and some a little, but often folks are mismatched. And that's the problematic part, that one still really wants that connection and intimacy in that way, and one person needs it less. So how do you play with that in not intimidating ways or overwhelming ways?
Being able to be vulnerable with somebody else and feeling safe doing that is one of the most amazing things we can share with another human being. It's also one of the most terrifying things we can do. Right, because you're bearing your soul in a way, and you can letting yourself be open to maybe to be judged for who you really are. So it's the most amazing thing, and it's the most terrifying because of how strong it is.
Hey, I am Dr. Jenn, and you are in the den with Dr. Jenn. I know what it feels like to be confused about sex, be misinformed, and feel embarrassed or ashamed. But what if we learned that talking about sex is not only normal and natural, but vital to our happiness, health, and ability to be fully human?
But a question I'm going to ask you, and this is what I mean when I start talking about thinking outside the box, is it just physical? And so a lot of times we hear about erotic and learn about sexual things, our society, the media, everything that we learn about sexuality, a lot of times that is very physical. It's very physical, it's very based on the genitals, and I'm challenging you here to really think outside the box, and what's the bigger picture?
Number one was the variety of ways that people have sex.
So they were shocked that there was the variety of combinations that folks had of sexual activities. They found 41 different combinations of sexual activities that folks had engaged in.
And then the last time,
creativity.
You're pretty colorful here this morning. What you got here, all this stuff?
Playfulness and creativity, that can't be overstated.
But it's all about fantasy and role-playing. Okay, so what is that? What is role play?
Well, what it comes down to is that when we're with a partner for a long time, we know them so well, and sex can become pretty scripted. You know exactly what you're going to do. It plays out the same way, and so it becomes kind of boring. When you bring in fantasy and role playing, you get to branch out where you get to see your partner in a new light. Like, they're not the same person you know intimately. It gives us permission to not be who we are in our everyday life. And so when we get permission, particularly as women, we can learn that we need to be good girls. Well, so when you can learn that you can be a good girl but still dress as the naughty nurse with the fishnets and the boots and the whole outfit, it gives both partners permission to break out of their sort of comfort zone, the box that's kind of keeping them constrained where things can get boring.
I'm totally following you.
Okay, my question to you, what is the world record for the most female orgasms in one sitting? Okay, we got a big difference, 12 and 200.
I teach college students and adults how to be comfortable with sexuality so they can communicate clearly, make responsible choices, and experience pleasure.
Shout out some examples of what a value is. Just specific values that you might have or other people have. What are some examples?
Honesty,
Respect. Honesty, courage, nice. Art. Mindfulness, thank you. Very well done, you get an A. When we can choose in the moment, even just to take a few seconds, to sit with what shows up in our thoughts, our emotions, and sensations, and have compassion for what shows up, and not judge it, and also choose not to run from it, to hide from it, to distract, or to numb ourselves. When we choose to do that, we take our power back, because now we have choices. It started to open some space for her to start to forgive herself, which then over time opened the space for her to start making healthier choices.
Those are your rules, not mine. I'm good with myself and I'm going to enjoy myself. So I think it's that shift in confidence.
Everyone deserves healthy sexuality and loving relationships. We owe it to ourselves and our young adults to overcome the shame, misunderstandings, and silence around sex.
I found it quite unsettling at first, my vagina. Like the first time you see a fish cut open, and you discover this other bloody complex world inside, right under the skin. It was so raw, so red, so fresh. The thing that surprised me the most was all the layers inside layers, opening into more layers. My vagina amazed me. I couldn't speak when it came my turn in the workshop. I was speechless. I had awakened to what the woman who ran the workshop called vaginal wonder. And when we can come from that place of inner strength and connect with others from that place of strength, that's where we really have the power to deprogram ourselves and to make a change. And so I ask you to consider, how will you choose to fill your mind? Thank you.
Let me bring healthy sexuality to your school or organization.